Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and on Android, Spotify, or the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. $2.99 per month. Link right here in the description. You'll bypass the Apple upcharge, and you get access to 10 different channels of Heat fans panicking. Why would you not want that? Also, check out host updates on their stage shows and more. This is the place for the most heat anywhere. Anything good that's on Twitter, we put it here, so we filter that all out for you. Check it out. Again, it's Off the Floor. Again, link in the description. Also, check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5FIVE. Put down your $5. Get $50 to play right away. You can play right along with the hosts of Five on the Floor, though. Don't play along with Alex, because right now he's last, going into the last game. Well, not the last game. It's not the last game of the NBA Finals. Actually, it's game 5 of the NBA Finals. But we're having a contest between the four of us. I'm currently winning. Greg is gaining on me. You can play too, and you can win money after you get money. Put down the code 5FIVE. They give you $50 and start playing right away. And now, today's episode.
Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yay, five on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick on Five Reasons Sports. I got Brady Hawk. You can follow me at Brady Hawk 305. Check out the recent episodes, including one that I did with Greg on Kevin Durant and whether or not he's still a needle mover. And we did some comparisons to Shaq back in 2004. And I do think it's worth a listen because some of the numbers suggest something different than what we've been seeing out there on social media. But today, we're going to advance this even more. And first, I'm going to give an update, and I'm giving this update at 10:15 a.m. I gave this update last night, actually, on Off the Floor, if you subscribed already. But here's where we are, okay? And it's murky, a little confusing because there's so many different reports, and some people, sort of cosplaying as reporters. Others are just getting information and they're putting it out there, but the information, has some kind of an agenda to it that's coming to them. Um, the Miami Heat are still in this. That's where I'll start with the Heat. They're still in this. I'm not going to say who's in the lead. That changes minute to minute. There was reporting that came out last night from ESPN that Durant only really has interest in going to 3 teams, which would be Houston, San Antonio, and Miami. Miami was added to that. We've been telling you all along that he had interest in coming to Miami. It's never been crossed off his list. Although the Texas teams have sort of gotten more prominence there. The story there was that the team that was not included was Minnesota, and that's been one of the teams that has been in the mix here, at least according to reports. The Wolves have an issue anyway acquiring him in that they are over the second apron, so they can't aggregate salary until July 1st, which makes it a little bit more complicated. They also have a couple of their core players are free agents, and they don't want to trade Jaden McDaniels. So this was always going to be a tough thing for Minnesota, although it could be worked out if he was like pushing to go there. And of course, the attraction there is his friendship, kind of a mentorship of Anthony Edwards. But as of right now, Minnesota is being declared out of it. The Spurs, by the way, you know, for all the talk of them and Bill Simmons saying a deal was done, a lot of people are saying deals were done like a week ago, and these people are not backtracking on any of it, even though it didn't prove to be true. But the Spurs, it just doesn't seem like there's a fit there with the Suns because the Spurs are not inclined to give up the number 2 pick. They don't want to give up Stephon Castle. And so essentially, you're talking about the 14th pick, Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell. It doesn't seem like there's a fit there either. So this is where I believe the Heat are. The Heat do not want to give up Khalil Ware. We're going to talk about that. And essentially, this is like the Suns exhausting their options with others and Miami still being there. That's what this has felt like to me all along. And it's why the Heat, who would like to have KD, and to my understanding, would likely extend KD if it came to that, which it probably would, they are not like going to throw the farm out there. And for some, this is going to feel like the Dame situation, except I do believe the difference here is that Phoenix will deal with them. And they were dealing with them at the trade deadline, but Matt Ishbia asked for everything, and the Heat were like, okay, well, if you still have Durant after this, which they did, we'll come back to this over the summer, and that's kind of where we're at. So that's my understanding of things as of 10:20 a.m. on Sunday, which is that the Heat don't feel they're out of this. They don't feel desperate to do it, but they would like to have the player. They've liked the player for a long time, as have a lot of people. Okay, so Brady, in that context, let's get into what this would look like if they actually acquired him. And I'm going to put this out there in a couple of different versions. Version one is they don't trade Ware. So let's say that the deal ends up being Wiggins, who I believe would be included, for salary purposes and also because he keeps Phoenix reasonably competitive if that's what they want to do. He's played next to Steph. He could play next to Booker. And so it feels like there's some kind of a fit there. At least Wiggins is involved. Maybe he's sent somewhere else, but he could be involved with Phoenix. And that the second piece of the deal would likely be Duncan Robinson, who has a partial guarantee, which could create some tax savings for Phoenix, which is also something that the other teams can't really provide, at least not to the degree of this. Duncan obviously been a really important player for the Heat for a very long period of time, but we've kind of been anticipating that we saw the last of him in a Heat uniform, and that may be what ends up happening here. So you've got Duncan in there. You've got the number 20 overall pick, which I believe would be included here. Phoenix wants draft capital that's more immediate. And then a young player who, let's say, for the purposes of this exercise, is Jovic. It could be Jaquez. The Heat, I don't believe, will include Ware. And then maybe some other kind of sweetener, whether it's the Heat have a second round pick or it could be swaps, or again, Phoenix could insist on the Heat's, I guess it would be the 2030 pick or something along those lines. So let's just say that, and that of the current roster, you're removing Wiggins, you're removing Duncan, and you're removing, let's say for starters, you're removing Jovic. What would Kevin Durant's fit be, or what would their fit be around him with the current players that they have?
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think, the baseline deal that a lot of us think would actually go down and what the roster would look like. The thing that becomes complicated, I know we were talking about it yesterday, was how things look for Davion, because I know things could be a little bit more complicated with re-signing him and everything. So that would obviously be a crucial part of this, because obviously if you could get Davion back in the mix with a Kevin Durant, Tyler Herro, Bam, and Khalil Ware core, I think that's big. We talk about kind of like the early Jimmy years of what was so different about it and like kind of running back that style. They had such good role players. I think that was just, it's not talked about enough over those years of when they were making those pushes that they, the guys, the two ways and all that stuff, they had good role players. They need to rebuild that if this is the case. But let's just talk about the core. Number one, Kevin Durant and Tyler Herro offensively. You talk about needing to get Tyler Herro some offensive help, some specifically offensive help in the half court. And you're adding arguably the greatest scorer ever. I mean, yeah, that's going to help. I know the age stuff, but for the time being, this guy is still an elite scorer that can get you a bucket at any point in the game, at any point in the half court, at a pick and roll, mid post, isolation, all of that. We all know what Kevin Durant can do. Bam Adebayo and Kevin Durant obviously have, a relationship off the court. Hopefully Bam's doing some recruiting right now as we speak. But ultimately, I think that's just an obvious fit. We actually seen them in Team USA where some of their better lineups in its recent, push for a gold medal was Kevin Durant and Bam just kind of working pick and rolls, the playmaking, the unselfishness. They kind of have a little bit of a connection already. But the thing you mentioned, I think one of the most intriguing parts of when I think about what could be on the court with this type of core, give me Kevin Durant, Khalil Ware pick and rolls like the entire game. Like that's what I think of when I think about adding this, because when you have the worry of Kevin Durant coming off a screen like every defense does when he comes off of that, knowing if he gets that elbow or anywhere in the half court, the 3-point line or inside, he could fire over the top of you. And they know he will fire over the top of you. He's just such a threat from there. That big who's playing drop, or if they're switching, you have to worry about Kel'el Ware now as well. There's going to be opportunities on that backside that I just think that two-man game would be tough to deal with. Like, it really would. We know Tyler and Kel'el have been, had a decent connection this first year, but like, think about what the attention Tyler sees, but then times it by 5 because you have the name of Kevin Durant and the skill set of Kevin Durant. Like, I just think that skill set in itself would be huge. But I think about the rest of the roster. I mean, how they fit in. Like I said before, I think one of the biggest things is if you get Kevin Durant and you're trying to hit minimum contracts, just get shooting. Just get shooting at every position. Like that's ultimately the team building I think they're going to need. If there's a guy like Jaime that stays, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to keep him in the fold and he could be a bench player for this team. I'll ask you this, Ethan, because if the roster is short, I've mentioned this to you before. Does Terry Rozier find his way back into the fold here? Like if their roster becomes thin on the backside and they need something on the bench, I don't know. I could see a scenario where he ends up outsticking some other guys and ends up playing for this roster next season. But ultimately, they have to just find some. They have to just find some of these veteran minimum guys to fill out the rest of the roster. But I know we were going to talk about the fit specifically, but I don't think there's any question about the short-term fit with Kevin Durant. There's never been a question about that. It's more so what the roster looks like long-term. Is it worth it? Is it going to be a contending team and all of that stuff? But it fits. Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, Kevin Durant, Kel'el Ware, that works for me.
Okay, so let me start because you threw me with the Rozier comment because I'm just now imagining him dribbling for 15 seconds into a step back with Durant sitting right there asking for the ball. So I don't know about that one. We'll see. I guess when we talk about fit, it does seem silly to say, well, how do you fit around Durant? Now, I know people are going to say, well, his last 2 teams really didn't win. I tried to debunk some of that on the last podcast where the winning percentage with him on the court was actually not elite, but fine. With the Nets, it was better than fine. It's just they couldn't get their core 3 on the court together. And of course, he was part of that coming off a serious injury. But I'll say this as far as fit, okay? And I get what you're saying about him and Ware. I just look to the other end of the floor, and I'm wondering, are you comfortable? Kevin Durant hasn't played the 3 in a long time. I mean, I know people are thinking of him that way because when he came in for Seattle and then Oklahoma City, that's primarily what he played. And you take a look at the teams in Oklahoma City that went to the finals and all that. Now, I mean, remember, Ibaka was playing the 4, Kendrick Perkins of all people was playing the 5, and KD was the 3, and then you had Harden or Cephalosha at the 2, and Westbrook at the 1. He hasn't played that position in a long time. So if we're talking about starting him, which we are, of course, and you're talking about starting Bam, which we are, of course, are you sure that Ware starts in that scenario if he's still here, or might it make more sense? And Hawkins is not ideal there as a 3 if he's still here because he's not a great shooter. But would it make more sense to have a 3-and-D guy at the 3? Out there instead of Ware, and then you kind of have Ware coming in playing 25 to 30 minutes with either Bam or KD, and that's essentially those are your 3 core bigs, so to speak.
It's tough. I personally would start Kel'el Ware with the 2. I just think it gives you an identity, it gives you length, it gives you versatility defensively for sure. I mean, we've talked about what they've been defensively over the last few years, and they find their way into top 10 defenses, but it's not because of big teams or that type of style. So I like the idea of it, but the thing is, I'm not worried about him coming off the bench just because you can immediately stagger. You could pull Kel'el and KD early and then put them back in together a little bit later. That's the type of thing I think they would lean to. And they just build the connection of KD and the Rook and let KD run a lineup and then keep the connection of Tyler and Bam together and let them run lineups like they've been over the last few years. That's the way I think they treat it. And I kind of like the idea of that. I think they're investing too much in this younger core of Tyler, Bam, and Kel'el that I don't think you need to continue to split them up. I think they need to do as much as they can to keep them together, try to build chemistry, let them get that connection up. And offensively, like we always talk about, what we did the episodes, like what would Khalil and Bam look like next year offensively? Like how it's going to work? Well, when you get Kevin Durant and Tyler Herro on the floor next to them, it works. Like that's how you fix the offensive stuff with them. Like, yes, they can shoot the occasional threes, they can build some stuff out, and be just, get more reps offensively in the half court for sure. But that just opens everything up in that style. So, I think I would still start Khalil. I don't want to diminish anything. Like if they're keeping him, like if they put Khalil in the deal, it's a done deal. So that's the way I feel it is. Like if they threw Khalil in like right now and said we're going to throw him in the deal for Kevin Durant is on the Miami Heat. So if they're valuing him to that extent, they need to prop him up. They need to value him on the court, play him in late in games as well, as we've talked about last year, kind of letting him figure things out, but also playing him next to your best player. So I like the idea of starting him, letting him figure some stuff out. And yeah, Kevin Durant it's funny. I feel like we did this exact episode 2 years ago with Dame, where we were like describing what Dame was going to be on the court with Miami, and then we know what happened. So like, I feel like I just want to put that out there that Ethan made us do this episode, because I just every time I keep mentioning Kevin Durant next to like Bam and Tyler, I just get flashback to 2023.
Well, I'm not making anybody do anything. They're making me do it on social media. I'm getting messages. I'm getting added. Where is the new episode? Okay, we'll give you the new episode. So that's what we're doing here. All right. When we come back, I want to talk about Tyler specifically, because when I have even those who I've spoken to, in the organization, who maybe are a little more reluctant about giving up the farm here or that kind of thing, and they're not. And I'm not saying they're all in position to make that decision, but just those I've communicated with, everybody says the same thing. Well, this would be great for Tyler. So I want to get into why, other than the obvious, okay, which is that you have somebody else who's attracting attention. Also, this would be the biggest front line that the Heat have ever had, right?
And that's why you play them together.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it would literally be the biggest front. I mean, you go from it. I mean, Bam would be the third tallest guy in the even though technically I guess he would play the four. Do you want to talk about something else? And more important than the Heat, which is how you send money, because you want it to be safe, right? That's real important. Everybody in our core group here has Cash App. See, that's a requirement. You don't all have to be 6'9", like you will be to play on the Miami Heat front line, but everybody has Cash App, because why? Again, it's the safest way to send money. They look out for you if something seems sketchy. They see you might be sending money to a potential scammer. They'll warn you, make you think twice before you hit send. It's like having a personal bodyguard for your cash. If for whatever insane reason you don't already have Cash App, just download it from your phone's app store, sign up, enter our code that's on the floor, not like off the floor, our Discord server, but part of 5 on the floor in your profile. Send $5 to a friend, you get $10 just for getting started. So again, check it out. Again, one of the things you can do with Cash App that's cool, you can spice up your payments, send custom text, stamps, and backgrounds. Helps you keep track of everything as well. So check it out. Again, for a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code on the floor in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days. You get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. I should be Cash Apping money to Alex and Brady to play in the Prize Picks Challenge with us, so that they can try to catch up. And actually, check that out too. Use the code 5 FIVE, and I don't know. How much do you have left? You've used 20.
Yeah, I have 20 left.
Okay, I think Alex has like hoarded it. He's got like $50 left.
He has 85 left. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, let's get into the hero fit with Durant. We saw the attention that Tyler started to attract because of the season he had, but also because there was nobody else who could score. And so teams loaded up on him in the playoffs. Now, sometimes you see two scorers get together, and as you said, there's nobody who's been a more accomplished scorer than Durant over the past, decade and a half. And it doesn't work. But for some reason, I see them flowing off each other. Like I don't. right? Like I feel like the reads would be easy for the two of them. I don't think it'd be complicated. And I know people kind of get on us. We make this comparison, but Tyler plays in some of the same ways that Devin Booker plays. I mean, that comparison has been made for a reason. And so Durant is used to that. Like I don't think this would be a hard. I think if this happened, I know we're jinxing everything, but if this happened, I feel like they'd come out of the second training camp practice, you know, joking with each other and talking about, how good this is going to look together. Am I wrong?
No, it's not that we're comparing Tyler to Devin Booker. I mean, Tyler modeled his game after Devin Booker. Like that's what he did coming into the league. So you're talking about a guy that's kind of modeled his game and done stuff that he's done in the half court. And Kevin Durant has fit well with Devin Booker up to this point and has found ways to, balance the on and off ball thing that I think Miami could definitely do, especially like Devin Booker was morphing into more of like an on-ball point guard type player in Phoenix because that's what they needed at the time. Whereas Miami was trying to morph Tyler into the off-ball player. He was trying to become like the guy that's leans more on the catch and shoot, limits his dribbles. And like I said in the last episode we did in the draft thing, like Tyler was forced to do that. And I was mentioning on that episode that like getting the guy in the draft like Ben Serif could like help Tyler out, push him off the ball, do more of the stuff that they wanted to do last year. But like times that by 100 when comparing like the draft pick compared to Kevin Durant. I mean, they could do a ton of stuff with those two guys. And look, this is the funniest part because Kevin Durant has gotten to figure this out, especially this past year. I mean, over the last few years because he's played with some really good players, but I think he shot 46% from three on catch and shoots, like on 5 attempts. Mm-hmm. Like you're talking about an elite catch and shoot player as well. He's knocked down from anywhere that Tyler could still play his game. Tyler could still play the pick and roll game. He could do all of that stuff, and then Kevin Durant could play off of that. You have you run the two big lineups. One of the most ideal things in a two big lineup is that you have secondary action. So, like if Tyler and Bam are running a pick and roll on one side of the court, they can reverse the ball to Kevin Durant, Khalil screening, and you play off of that. Like if you have those quick triggers, that opens up an offense, and they have not. That's what's they haven't had an elite offense because of that reason. They haven't had like we always compare it to like. Is it coaching? Is it this? Is it players? Well, like they haven't had the talent, offensive talent to really get it to that point. They've had Tyler, who's a bucket. They've had good role players. They've had specialists, but they haven't had like elite scorers. Jimmy became that in the playoffs. Jimmy got to that point. But Durant is a guy that can kind of shift an offense. And I think the most interesting fit other than Tyler and KD is Spo and KD because they're another, pairing that has a relationship with Team USA. I know it's been talked about that, it's one of the scenarios where like KD has the respect for his coach where like coming in, like if, like that he will trust Eric Spoelstra to put him in the right position. Like he would I think you talked about a story before where they like laid out a plan before of how they would use Kevin Durant. So like
2016, just to cycle back on that for people who haven't heard this enough, when the Heat sat down with Durant, and you have to understand the circumstances of this, that when they sat down with Durant, they didn't have a lot on the roster. Dwayne was a free agent. They're re-signing Whiteside to the max. They had Dragic. They didn't have a lot. They should not have really even been in the mix with KD. And Spoelstra made the presentation to KD where he basically showed him what they tried to do for LeBron to increase his efficiency, where he could get him his shots on the floor. And KD, from all accounts on this, was floored by the presentation. And it's the major reason why they finished a close enough second to KD joining one of the greatest teams of all time, which is ultimately what he did. So yes, anyway, continue. But that's the context of 2016. And then, I talked to Spo about Durant at training camp this year. The respect is enormous. And I was told that KD was by people who covered USA basketball. They said KD, for all the talk about Edwards, KD was with Bam more than with any other player. And actually, KD would come in when Spo would go with Bam for Bam to get extra work because he kind of was personally coaching Bam there in a lot of ways. KD would join in those situations. So the relationships between the three of them is already there. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, so just like for the on-court stuff, it's the same thing. Like I just think Spo could put him in a position and figure stuff out where we talk about the offense and unlocking it. Well, like give him the talent. Like let's see what that's the way to really juice up the offense is like if you give it Tyler Herro and Kevin Durant offensively and let and Bam and Kello can play off of that, and Bam's still a major part of this offense. I don't want to lose that in this as well. If they add Kevin Durant to the fold, you do not want to lose the aggression of Bam Adebayo. And I think the funny thing is, I mean, Jimmy did the same thing when he came here, but Kevin Durant would be pushing Bam to become put the ball up more than anybody. We shouldn't be having that discussion at this point either, but I just think Kevin Durant would want Bam to be a primary scorer on this team. But I just think the way they can use them and Spo can play off that, the thing is, they're not going to come in and say they're trying to make a push for a better offense, no doubt. But I still think the identity of this team would be defensively. Durant, even at his age, being a type of defender that he could be, Bam and Khalil on the backside, just covering up for the backcourt. We'll see what Davion lands. I'm looking at what their core role players would be on this team in this instance. I think their number one core role player would be Pelle Larsson. He's going to be core in this situation if they were to land Kevin Durant. The stuff he was doing last year in the playoffs, the way the shot was coming along, the energy, all that stuff. He would be crucial, and he's still going to be crucial. Kevin Durant or not, I still think he's going to be a crucial role player for this team moving forward. But I just think about in this instance, those are the type of guys they need. I would re-sign an Alec Burks. You make sure he's still on the roster. I think they need that shoe, especially if you're losing Duncan. Those are the core role players I think you'd have to try to keep in the fold. And then you figure everything else out with your best players and let Spo kind of map out this diagram of offense behind Kevin Durant.
All right, a couple of closing things here. Number one, when you talk about that, it makes me think that the Heat would be back in their element, because what they've done most successfully over the years is you put your stars in place and then you find the guys to fit around them. And they've done that on the fly with previous builds. The most the most obvious one is the Shaq Wade build, where they got Shaq for basically everything good they had but Wade and Haslam and Eddie Jones, and then we'll get Damon Jones had played for 7 teams, but we just need a shooter to play off of Shaq. That's it. Okay. Damon not handle the ball much. Dwayne's going to handle the ball. They went out and got that guy. They elevated UD. So when you talk about a guy like Pelle Larsson, I'm not saying he's going to be UD, but you talk about taking a guy who maybe was couldn't really find the perfect role, or didn't have the perfect role with the previous group. UD was not a starter for necessarily coming into that season, but they elevated him. I could see again other players filling in. And the other thing I want to say on this, and this is not to take any shots at Jimmy, because what Jimmy provided obviously, was the driver to getting them to 2 finals and almost a third. But one of the questions we always had was not just the fit with him and Bam, but the fact that his style of play and Tyler's style of play didn't always fit. You needed them at different points of the game, but we saw Jimmy elevated even more when Tyler was out during that run when they lost to Denver in the finals. And we always talked about Jimmy slowing the game down, Tyler playing a little bit more of a free-flowing game. That's, to be honest, KD and Tyler offensively is a much better fit than Jimmy and Tyler were, right? I mean, would you agree with that?
For sure. I mean, it just flows better. I mean, I still think there could be a case of taking turns. I don't think it's going to work immediately. It's always going to be that case of taking turns early on. But I think what we were talking about was kind of later in the Jimmy tenure, it was still happening at times. It still felt
right.
Like it was not like there was games where, because I think the hard part with Tyler was, and once again, this isn't shots at Jimmy, but it's Tyler didn't know what Jimmy he was getting in a certain game
right.
a lot of the time. So he would get the playmaking Jimmy, the one that really wasn't putting his foot on the gas to try and score. And then there was the games where Jimmy just had it going and he was really trying to score. And Tyler was just, I felt was always trying to play off what version of Jimmy he was getting, where it's a little different because Kevin Durant just plays the same every game. He plays his game no matter what and is playing that. So I think Tyler could figure that as he goes. But when you're talking about 2 guys that are just scorers like that, I think you can figure it out. Like we said with Booker and KD is the perfect example. I mean, not that they won anything with that core, but I'm just saying that in the style of figuring out an offense, it just works. I'm looking at I was mentioning some of the role players. I mean, they still have Haywood Highsmith to kind of be in this mix as the defensive piece. I'm looking at if they were to not be able to re-sign Davion. Drew Smith was really coming into form before. Yeah. And look, we talk about BAM recruiting. Wasn't Drew Smith the teammate of Kevin Durant, like in Brooklyn? So let's see if Drew Smith can make the call here.
And I know people are going to say, well, Drew's coming off a second major injury, and he is. But by all accounts, I've heard he's ahead of schedule on that. And so, that doesn't surprise me. That guy, like, there are guys who want to be NBA players and contributors, and that guy is one of them. And so he's basically sold out in the best possible way on both of his rehabs. And I do think he's going to be a factor for them. I also think Keshad Johnson in this mix could be important. Add another athlete. We'll see where he is. He didn't get a lot of opportunity last year, but they liked him enough to elevate him. So, I do think there could be an opportunity for him to kind of get into the back end of the rotation. Again, we're not saying this is going to happen. I want to make it clear on this, and we're probably jinxing it by doing the episodes by even considering what it might look like. But that's what we do here. We need to consider what it might look like. And the final thing I'll say on this is I understand, again, Phoenix did not win. If you look this year at the numbers with Durant and Booker on the court and no Beal, and I'm going to put those on off the floor, Durant and Booker worked fine. Durant and Booker worked fine. That wasn't the big problem. The problem was the players that were added to it, and particularly when they tried to make this like Beal Booker backcourt work, and that was pretty much a disaster. So again, just something to consider here. We'll continue to monitor everything that's going on here. Again, check it out on Off the Floor Prize Picks. Use the code 5FIVE and Cash App. Use the when you download it, use the code on the floor. Thanks, Brady. We'll have more again this week. Also, we'll be on playback for the rest of the NBA Finals. Playback.tv/5RSN.